Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another Mainstream Monday on Horror Film Lovers. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got my awesome co-host here. How you doing, John Ward?
I am good. I am here with my hook again.
Yay, you're a hook. Oh man, is that a magical hook?
It is because see, I'm actually putting it in my head, but you can see it's going right through me.
Oh, there you
That's
go.
how magical it is. Yes,
It's how magical it is. All
I
right,
thought it was. I thought it was appropriate. I mean, it's a hook. I
as
know
a
what you
hook.
did last summer stuff. So
Yeah. So did you get it because of I Know What You Did Last Summer? That hook?
no, this is because of Meat Hook Massacre 4.
Oh, okay.
But I
Well,
figured it was just appropriate for the reviews.
yes, definitely.
Might as well have a prop.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of those are fun. Um, so we are going to be talking about the 1998 film "I Still Know What You Did Last Summer," uh, which is the sequel to "I Know What You Did Last Summer," where at the end of the movie, "I Know What You Did Last Summer," it says "I still know." So they kind of already set up for there's going to be a sequel. And everything.
But it ended up being a dream.
Yeah, it ended up being a dream, and
See, you must love the sequel so much that you didn't even put a wallpaper or anything behind you.
oh shit, I forgot to. Fuck. I think I have the wallpaper for it. Hold on. We're gonna have to restart this.
Oh, are you sure? Okay.
Yeah, no, I'd rather have the. You know what? We don't need to restart it. Fuck that.
There.
Nope. I gotta find my fucking
Nope.
one.
Almost
Nope,
getting there.
nope,
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 close.
nope,
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 nope, close,
nope,
close,
nope.
nope,
God damn
close,
it.
nope.
No. Where is it? Ah.
Wait, you were
See,
just on it. Go back.
wasn't it? That was
That's
it.
it.
Oh my goodness. There it
There we
is.
go. There it is.
I don't have the one for the other one. I'll have to put that up before we do the show. But there we go. I'm so out of it today. I'm just getting off being sick. And so I'm still not like 100% there in my head. So this is going to be a fun show.
Yeah. Well, I think that from what you've told me, before the video, I think you should go first and explain yourself. So please explain what I'm talking
myself.
about.
Okay.
And explain yourself.
So first of all, I want to make this clear and apparent. We tried to record this before, both of us, and the problem was, I guess, like the internet kept fucking up or something. And also, I was very heated at that moment. I had just finished watching it, and it like pissed me off to no end. And so I hated the movie.
I don't know why.
I hated it, and so I'm gonna read my letterboxed review of it, a short letterbox review of it, because I don't do like long ass reviews or whatever on Letterbox. But this will kind of explain a little bit of my feelings, a little bit, and I'll go into further details of it. God, where are your? How do you find your own reviews? Okay. Boring rehash of the original film, not written by Kevin Williamson, and you can tell. But I will give it. They did try. This one on an island, and I guess Freddie Prinze Jr. was too busy, so his part feels almost like a glorified cameo. Jennifer Love Hewitt didn't want to be typecast as a scream queen, so this was her last horror movie. Ugh. No, that was my thing. That's what I said.
Well, short and sweet.
I know, and I gave it 2.5 stars. I could have given it less, but I didn't feel like it deserved less. I don't think it deserved more. I know you're a big fan of it, so we'll get into why you love it. But we'll talk about my negative stuff first, and then we'll go to your positive stuff and why you enjoy it. I felt that it wasn't I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is fine, I guess. If you're going to try to make a sequel, you don't want to be a ripoff of the original movie, which most sequels are, It did have elements of the original movie. Obviously, it was a fisherman. There was, and there's more to his legacy and his background than, we've ever known. So that was kind of cool. And then they introduced things that they never explained in the first one nobody ever knew in the first one. So it was just sort of, to me, it just sort of felt like okay, we're just making this up as we go along. That's how it kind of felt. It didn't feel like it was written by, it definitely didn't feel like it was written by Kevin Williamson, because it wasn't, but it didn't feel like it was in that sort of it. How we talked about this in Scream 3, that Scream 3 was written by another director or writer, right? Like somebody else came in and wrote Scream 3. And I felt like Scream 3, although having its flaws, and we talked about that, it wasn't it still felt like it was in the same, you know, world and universe. This almost felt like it was a completely different characters, in my opinion. Julie James was just pathetic, in my opinion. I didn't like her at all. I understood bringing in Brandy and her boyfriend and stuff into it, Mekhi Phifer, but I felt like just all of it was just boring. I didn't like, and the island setting didn't help it much, and on top of that, like I said, with Freddie Prinze Jr., he's in it for maybe 20 minutes of the movie, so and he's billed second or first, one of those two, and I just did not enjoy, like, it almost felt like, why isn't he in this more? Oh, I've got to, and he's in it, and he's usually by himself in the movie, or with one other person, that's not Julie. And that to me made me feel like maybe there was a little bit of some kind of friction between Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. or something. Or like I said, maybe there was it was just like Freddie Prinze Jr. was too busy and he couldn't do it, couldn't do it the whole time, because it really felt like a weird, like they felt like they were going to get back together and they were fine, and all of a sudden they're not, like it just felt weird. And on top of that, how did he not know about this guy when he randomly saw her? Why hasn't she mentioned him before? He's been pretty integral to her school stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of questions I had that I just didn't like, and I just, after a while, I just felt like this was just dumb, and I just didn't enjoy it. And on top, and last thing I'll say, and you can answer all these questions because I'm sure
Oh, I plan to.
Your own answers to them. On the radio stuff, where they answered the question and it was wrong on purpose because it didn't matter what she was going to say. They were going to give her those tickets. So somebody, which was probably either the guy who, the fisherman, or his, and spoilers alert, there's a son of the fisherman because he was Ben's son. I thought that was lame. Because we never hear his last name at all. And I thought that was totally that pissed me off. We never hear his last name until he goes, my last name's Benson, Ben's son. You didn't get that? I'm like, wait a minute. Did you? I'm sorry. It's just that my internet connection is unstable. It hasn't been doing that all day. And then it did that.
I know, and now it does it when we're trying to record this again. So yeah. You froze right up. So, but I got what you were saying.
But we never heard his name until, like, the Benson name, until after he goes, Benson, Ben's son. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, that was never a thing. Like, you never said your last name, like if you had said it before, like, hey, this is blah, blah Benson, or whatever, like, what I mean? To the audience, then we could have, like, had that time to, but I don't think we ever got his name, last name and stuff. So there was no clue to the audience that this was going to be Ben's son, at all, like this was just, it was so ridiculous and stupid. And why did he waste his money to have them go on an island so that they could kill them? Like, why not just, other than what you like, which is having a slasher film set on an island to give us something different to look at, why did they do this? Like, Like, why? What was the motivation of getting them on that island specifically for them to be? You know what I mean? Like, why not kill them at their house? You know, if that's all he really wanted to do, why not just attack them at the house? You know, it just seemed like way too much money spent for something that didn't need to legitimately happen, and overall didn't end up working because they ended up surviving anyway. So you know what I mean. All right, your turn. What positive stuff? Because
okay. Well, I'm going to basically disagree with almost everything you've said.
Yeah, pretty sure
I think it's a good sequel. It's not as good as the original. But I do love its location of being on the island. I like the storm coming in. I think we had talked about in our haul video about the shark movie, where the metaphor of the shark is mother and blah blah blah. I do think that this is a metaphor for the fisherman. I think that it works really well. The whole thing is it's the son who does the radio thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he could have said, what is the capital of Brazil? And if they said, oh, Hamburg, Germany, Hamburg, he would have said, yes, it's correct. So whatever they gave, whatever city they gave, he was going to say yes to. I don't know why you would just grab a thing of coffee and give that name. I mean, there's Don Francisco coffee. I'm not going to grab it and just go, oh, the state, the state capital of California is San Francisco, when it's not, it's Sacramento. But so I don't know if I don't know about that, but whatever they would have given would be correct, to just get them onto the island.
No, I get that, but why spend all that money to do that?
Okay, well, I'm getting to that. So then, so the stuff with Freddie Prinze Jr., I think that the reason why he wasn't in it is because they needed to put in the new guy, the son. So if you can't have Freddie Prinze Jr. going to the island. So they have to sabotage him to get the son to the island, because they're saying, well, you get these tickets to go.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, Freddie Prinze Jr. is barely in the first I Know What You Did Last Summer, because it was mainly Julie and Ryan Phillippe and Sarah Michelle Gellar. It was all three of them.
Yeah. It's mainly Julie, Sarah Michelle Gellar. Then that turns into her, then Ryan Phillippe, and then lastly is finally Freddie Prinze Jr. But the son has to get to the island, so he becomes he's that ticket. So that's why. So he agrees with whatever their answer is. They get the 4 tickets, and then he's able to go with them to the island. The island is completely secluded, so they they can't get off the island. So even though it's a big island, they're stuck on the island. And also it's the resting spot. And this I do think is kind of lame, is Ben Willis's wife and daughter that we never heard about in the first film. Why it's kind of creepy that they're buried on this island. It's just 2 tombstones.
We knew about the daughter, because the daughter was the reason why because the guy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So we knew about the daughter.
Yeah.
We didn't really know that the wife died.
Right.
Right. I don't think we even get a backstory of why she died. Or whatever. Maybe it was grief or something.
Grief or cancer. Or she just something like that. But but that's kind of weird. And Ben worked at the island, so he knew the island. So okay. So what movie was? Okay, so we're gonna get into I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer later. But what I really liked about the first 2 I Know What You Did Last Summer's movies was that I actually did like about I Still Know What You Did Last Summer was it wasn't just killing off the main 4 protagonists, or whatever, 5 protagonists or whatever. It was killing off
other people, like Jack Black died, who's randomly in it, and
uncredited Jack Black for some bizarre
uncredited.
reason.
I think that's a SAG rule or something. There's a SAG thing with that. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe they didn't pay him his SAG rates, because he just wanted to be in the movie. So he had to do it uncredited, or whatever, But he was in the movie. It was obviously him, and crazy ass dreads. I hate to say it though. I did have a blast seeing him. I just was like, why the fuck did they decide to like make him like Rastafarian, or a wannabe Rastafarian,
That could all be Jack Black, with his sense of humor and stuff. It could just be, local pot dealer. And then he comes on for whatever reason. And he's like, hey, what if I was like some Rastafarian guy with like the dreadlocks, and, that could be totally him.
That could be.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't mind him. He was probably, I should have put on my review that Jack Black is probably one of the only reasons I actually enjoyed the movie. I'm still telling you, it just felt like somebody took I Know What You Did Last Summer and tried to do like their own version of it, and they happen to have the same actors from it,
I just see. I don't really get that, because it's like a lot of these slasher films is they put them in different locations. You don't want to.
That's not the problem I have. Like, I mean, I didn't care for the island because I just didn't see much point to it other than now you're saying that he knew the island well. I'm like, so. Like, his whole point is just to kill them. He wants to kill them because they tried to kill him. That's the only reason. Like, he didn't even, it wasn't even like they killed his daughter or something, Like, he literally just wanted to kill them because they tried to kill him by the way, we've talked about this on the last, like, try or whatever. This is not I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. This is I Still Know What You Did Last Summer Before Last. Because
yes, and I brought up Friday the 13th. So not every Friday the 13th take place on Friday the 13th.
Yeah, it shouldn't. Some of them shouldn't be called Friday.
But they're just called Friday the 13th. I mean, it's not every not every place that Freddy goes to is Elm Street. It's just the title. It's I Know What You Did Last Summer was pretty much a standalone movie. They could have just killed the fisherman and left it at that. But they said, okay, well, what if this is a hit? We can make a franchise out of it. Okay, well, the film is a hit. So they're like, well, crap, now what do we do? We've done the fishing town. So now where do we go? And we're back with the storm. We're back with a lot of that stuff. And I thought
What? Go ahead.
I thought that they did, a good job with that. The reasons for them going there, might be a little ridiculous because this does take a lot of planning. I mean, a lot of planning because you have to figure that they have to do the fake radio call that's on the radio that they pick up on. They answer.
Yeah, they have to make sure that the person knows to answer the radio at that particular time.
And they seem to know the station.
Right.
Because he even says, like, and where are your hits coming from? And it
wasn't like a cell phone that they called, because back then the cell phones were like the big ass brick that they had. They didn't even have like regular, it's not like nowadays where everybody has a cell phone. It was their landline. What if they weren't home then, or whatever, and they call, but they've just like waited till they knew that they'd be, what I mean? Like,
I guess the son is maybe watching them, because then you got to figure, okay, they got 4 tickets. So then those 4 tickets were purchased, and then they had to be waiting for them, I guess, at the airport.
Also, they had to book it out, and they had to tell the guy that ran it, who I love, Jeffrey Combs. Oh yeah, man, he made my day. Seeing him in that. But he they had to tell him that, this was, remember, he said, oh, you're the radio people who won the contest or whatever. So I'm like
Right.
thinking, okay, so they knew about the contest. So that must have meant that the lead guy, the bad guy, the Benson guy, told them, or somebody had, because he didn't look like he even knew who that guy was.
The son probably called the island, called the hotel, spoke to Jeffrey Combs, and said, "Hey, I'm DJ so and so. These people won these tickets." Because they would also they just had tickets to fly there. We didn't hear anything about like the room or anything, so they had to most likely pay for the rooms, and they were nice rooms. I think they said that they were like the bridal suites.
Yeah, the honeymoon suites.
So yeah, the honeymoon suites. So then they would have to pay for that, and then they would have to get there. The boat probably wasn't free, so then they had to get them over on the boat. And so a lot of it, if you think about it like the way you're doing, does not make sense. It does not make a lot of sense.
And I think that's a lot of what pissed me off. Is just, it just seemed like too much trouble for, once again, for what the big plan was, just to murder them,
Right. Well, but this, I think, makes about as much sense as the first one does. Why wouldn't Sarah Michelle Gellar feel her hair being cut off? She had a lot of hair missing. Yeah. How long did it take for the fishermen to put that body with all the crabs and all that stuff in the trunk and then remove it and it being perfectly clean?
And then, yeah, exactly. Like, there's some things in the first one that was dumb, and didn't make any sense. And this one, I feel like they took that a step further, and stuff. And I don't know. I just didn't like it. Like, honestly, also the guy, the son, I felt like he had no chemistry. Like, he just did not. He
didn't have a lot of personality.
Yeah. And he had no chemistry with Jennifer Love Hewitt, which is fine because she wasn't really that interested in him. She still loved Freddie Prinze Jr. She still loved Ray. So she wasn't really thinking about him. She was trying to just enjoy herself. We talked about this too. There was that karaoke thing where Jennifer Love Hewitt sang, which you were talking to me about, how Jennifer Love Hewitt, was trying to get her career, pop career going. And,
well, she's a huge star in Japan, or at least was at that time. So that's why if you own the DVD, her music video's on there.
Right. So the, Brandy was already a big, pop singer, was trying to get her movie career going. And so this was a movie to kind of help with that. So she kind of tossed it. At first I was mad about it, but then when I talked to you before about it, it started making me think, and you might have actually turned me around on that, my feelings on that, because I actually thought that it was sort of like passing the mic to somebody who wasn't, and giving, and it was almost like, in a way, if you think about it, it was Jennifer Love Hewitt passing, or getting the mic passed to her from Brandy, right? And then passing by Jennifer Love Hewitt so that she could get her movies career go, And
I think you're reading way too deep into it.
I like that, though. I like it that way.
I think that, Brandy was already known. They were trying to get Jennifer Love Hewitt.
It probably cost a lot of money to sing too.
It's possible, yeah. But I think they were just trying to get Jennifer Love Hewitt's career going in America because she was already big in Japan. So that's why her video's on there and not Brandy's, and that's why she sings the karaoke and not Brandy. Is that they're trying to just get her career started here because Brandy already had a career.
Well, good.
That's what I think. I think it's as simple as just marketing her.
I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it metaphorically to just make myself feel better.
I mean, a literal passing of the torch was the rundown. When you see, Dwayne Johnson walking through that club, and Schwarzenegger walks right past him and goes, have fun. And that was the literal passing of the baton from Schwarzenegger to The Rock. And that's very well known in that film, is that's what Schwarzenegger was doing.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think this is the same type of thing. I just think that they would try to just market her. You know, Brandy already had a music career, so she wanted an acting career. And Jennifer Love Hewitt was huge in Japan. And so, you know, that's what they were doing. So the one actress that we're leaving out is Jennifer Espinosa.
Which I read somewhere that in the script it said something like she looks just like Jennifer Espinosa in the script.
Oh, that's funny.
And so they were just, I guess they're like, we could just ask her if she wants to be in the movie, and she did, you know. But yeah, they got her to be in it, and I didn't hate her in the movie or anything, but I she was pretty. She was just eye candy. That was it. Like, she really served no purpose to me.
Well, she's a bartender. She's one of the people that stays there during that season. So because they do have those off season, you know, guests.
Ooh, it is storming out there. I can hear some thunder. That's crazy. Wow, a storm is coming. I don't know if that's a good thing.
I'm hot as hell here, so I would rather have the storm.
I know. When I talk to people from California, they're just upset that I'm getting rain and they're not, and I'm like, I would rather have no rain, honestly. Other than to do the plants and stuff, I don't care about rain so much. But anyway, so yeah, so there's a lot of craziness going on with it, but I don't know. The movie just didn't do it for me. I don't know.
Well, apparently I'm in the minority on this, because it didn't do as well as the first one, which is why none of the original cast returned, you know, for the third one. And thinking about it, I do agree with you about the son's last name, about that Ben's son, is that at the very beginning, since Brandy kept saying people's names, that she should have said, when you first see him, she should have said like his first name and the last name. Like, oh, if it isn't Joe Smith, you know, that type of thing.
That might have sounded like weird. I mean, because whoever introduced, like, actually, that wouldn't have sounded too weird, because
I know people who call me John Ward. They don't use, you know, just John. They go, hey, John Ward, how you doing? You know, so it's just one of those names that, you know, my name is one of those names that a lot of people just say the last two or the whole name. For you, I say at times, like, when I put you into my phone in my calendar, I always say Moody.
It's just, I mean, when I was was it 6th grade or whatever, you know, that was the first time I was ever called Moody, you know, and it was from my gym teacher, you know, because all football coaches, which he was, calls everybody by their last name, you know, or whatever, instead of, you know, John, you know, or Jonathan, which are just sort of common names, you know, they'd say Ward, Moody,
right,
you know, whatever. And that makes more sense. So he kept calling me Moody. And I was like, I've never had anybody just call me by my last name before. It was weird. But
that's you need to, you know, script writing 101 is, if you're going to set that up, then she does need to say Joe Benson or whatever his name is.
Because then it comes out of nowhere. And then you're like, wait, we didn't know this. Like, how like, I thought, because if you said it, you know, in the first act, right, you had, as you said, like, Brandy say, hey, it's whatever Benson, whatever his first name is, Benson, and then, you know, that could sit with you, you know, and then you could be like, wait, Benson, you know, that's interesting, but you never would have thought about it, because who even remembers, like, I'm sorry, I know what you did last summer, Fisherman, is not nearly as cool as like Freddy Krueger, you know, like. Well,
that's why nobody calls him Ben Willis. They'll call him the Fisherman. You know, right. that way you know exactly what film it's from. But you know, but they tried, and they got 3 movies out of it, you know, from one book, and and I guess it works as a trilogy more or less.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, it just if you're gonna have something at the end, you have to have a setup to pay it
Yeah.
off, and and they don't really. So I don't know. Yeah, and it's very confusing at the ending of the first film is always confused me. Is this a dream? Did this really happen? Because all of a sudden, Julie and Ray don't like each other, again. Okay, just
Mm.
so it's almost like they like each other, then tragedy happens and they don't like each other, and then they have to come back together and they like each other because they killed the killer, and then they like each other, then they don't like each other again, and then they come back together because of the killer. So is that how their relationship is going to be for the rest of their lives? Is they're going to like each other, and then something bad's going to happen, and then they're going to have a killer bring them back together? Because they have a pretty bad relationship. I mean,
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, it started with the killer, So I mean, like that whole thing of like that, and they try to do this in the new one, and the I'll always know each other last one, which we'll be reviewing. But they try to do it where like it brings that idea of like keeping a secret this big, kind of
well,
tears
don't
people apart.
yeah, well, okay, yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, don't talk too much about the third one, but because I got plenty to say about the third one. It's well, yeah, I would think keeping a secret like that would tear people apart. I mean, especially if it's murder or alleged murder.
Yeah. I don't
It's
know.
I just enjoy the film. It's Danny Cannon, and I think that he did a good job. I think visually it looks good, and
What else has he
it's
done?
I want to say Judge Dredd, the
Oh, what?
Stallone one.
No. What? Really?
I want to say.
So you did that before I Still Know What You Did Last Summer? Yeah. Wow. Judge Dredd.
So I don't have to look him up since you're looking.
Good for so Judge Dredd. He did I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, did a bunch of music videos with Bjork. He's done a lot of TV movies. Things I never heard of. Nikita, Shameless. Oh, he directed an episode of Shameless, which I still need to see. Yeah, he's done a lot of TV now. That seems to be the thing with a lot of these directors from the 90s.
Oh yeah, yeah. They well, that seems to be where you go these days. Like
Right.
I'm a big Mario Van Peebles fan, and so I wondered one day, God, he hasn't really made anything in a while, like directed wise. And then I looked him up on IMDb, and it's all TV. Everything is television. The occasional movie, but it's all TV. So that's where these guys go. I guess their careers as film directors don't take off. They direct a few films, and then they just go straight to television because television actually pays more. So
Speaking of Mario Van Peebles and movies, Solo, that was a classic.
I like Solo. Yeah.
Me and one of my friends were the only two. Me and her were the only two in the theater watching it when it first came out.
Yeah,
like
unfortunately, he's not a draw. Yeah.
The opening weekend too. Like nobody was there. We're like, okay. We're just having fun running around the theater and shit. Just as kids do, because we're kids,
There you go.
But yeah, anyway, it's I don't know.
I mean, what did you think of the kills in this in the sequel?
Thought they're okay. Nothing really stands out in my head. There was I like the what was that guy? Voodoo guy. I liked him.
He is such a great actor. I mean, he's been in a bunch of movies, but he is so good.
Whenever I see him pop up, like I don't know his name, but every time I see his face, I'm like, I know that guy. He's been in like a million movies. He's really good. I like that. I liked Jeffrey Combs's death. I liked just I was just like, what is, unless they're just wanting to kill everybody off so that they can killed the main people off, like it almost didn't seem like they needed to kill off like the maid, or whatever, just like more
She's
kills.
just there,
I mean, it kind of felt bad. Like, what was the purpose of that? Just
Oh,
because
Bill Cobbs is
Bill
his name, the
Cobbs,
voodoo guy. Yeah, great actor.
fantastic. And then I liked, as I said, I liked Jennifer Espinosa, but I just felt like she was sort of underutilized. She really didn't have too much of a point other than being the bartender, being another employee that gets attacked by the man with the hook.
Well, if this is filmed in a real location, it's not just a set, then that's probably why they got some of these people. Is they're just like, oh, really? So we get a trip to the Bahamas? Sure, why not? Type of thing. Let's 7, whatever her role took, 7 days or whatever it was, and same thing with Jeffrey Combs and maybe even Jack Black for whatever reason he's not credited. But they're so limited because they all have about the same amount of screen time. It's our main cast that has the bulk of it. Yeah. So if you're going to get a Jeffrey Combs and you'd be like, well, how long is it? Oh, 5 days. Oh, okay. I'm there.
See, okay. So you're giving me this idea of, you have to get the guy to come in there and be the killer, be whatever. If you want it, I would have rather him been, Brandy's boyfriend, like.
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm not following. Just
Benson guy. Would have rather have him been that guy so that he could have already gone on the thing and we could have had Freddie Prinze Jr. Because I would have rather had Freddie Prinze Jr. in it most of the time. Maybe they would have problems while on the thing about, the stuff, but I would have rather have had him there. I didn't like his being off, trying
journey.
to get there. His journey. It just felt like I said, it felt weird. It felt like he wasn't there the whole time. So, like he could only do a certain amount of time, or something. In the movie.
That's possible. That's another thing.
Like I said, it could have been like that because at that time his career was blowing up. He was in like tons of like, he was in She's All That and lots of big movies after I Know What She Did Last Summer.
It could be a combination of both of us, of what we've said. I mean, it could be that he's like, yeah, I can only give you 4 days, or
it could have been that, or it could have been, like you said, it could have been like they needed to introduce the son. And so they had to make him kind of be the semi love interest character. But if they were gonna introduce the son like that, they could have just had him be Brandy's boyfriend, which would have made it interesting because it would have been an interracial relationship, and maybe back in 98 they don't really show that much of that. Nowadays they do more,
but then they would have to then that's kind of like one less death, unless he just happened to be there, if he's the son of Ben Willis and Ben Willis did work there. I mean, maybe he's works at the hotel and then he's already there. And then Freddie Prinze Jr. could go along,
but then we wouldn't get that whole Benson thing because then, the guys didn't know who he was, or whatever. If he just happened to work there, unless he was like, hi, I'm blah, blah Benson, which could have happened. He'd be like, I'm blah, blah, blah Benson. And then maybe, that could have been a cool. All right. You know what? That could have been cool if they had called him up, called Brandy up on the phone, did the whole radio DJ thing, had them fly out, and then they met that guy on, he's like, oh, I work here. I'm, blah, blah Benson. How can I help you guys? And then there might be like Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt are kind of having like problems because of things or whatever going on, because like he was going to propose to her there, right? Like that was his plan. Then he pawns the ring in for a gun and everything. And I was like, oh man, like I kind of felt bad for him at that particular moment too.
Well, I mean, there's reasons for what they did with him because she does call him up. She invites him. He says no, like an idiot. And then his friend goes, dude, you should just go surprise her, which to me is the dumbest thing ever, because if she has a spare ticket, she's just going to call somebody else. But she does say, please try to make it. I mean, she was hoping he would show up, but he's taking a huge chance that she's just not inviting somebody else.
And then the Benson guy had to actually stop him from coming, which he did, but even that was my least favorite scene, by the way. I was like, who the fuck gets out of their car to help somebody like that? Call the cops. That's not your job.
Well, especially if you're Ray and the guy in the street is wearing a slicker.
Right. Like, you're a fucking idiot. You're an idiot.
I'd be like, I would get out of the car and then I'd go like, wait, that looks like a slicker. And I'd get back inside
the car and run him over,
drive away or something. Yeah. Cause that it's just like, you're not in the fishing area anymore.
That scene pissed me off to no end. I was just like, I was so angry at that moment because I knew exactly what they were doing. They were stopping him from going to the thing. And that's like right then and there when that clicked, I go, okay, I hadn't seen this movie in forever, but now things are starting to come back to my head. Okay, yeah, that the killer is the the killer is the son or whatever is the killer is the guy, right? The new boyfriend, guy. Which, if you watch the new Scream movies and everything, which we reviewed, they talk about that. Like, like why would the new boyfriend is always the first suspect of these things, or whatever, the new guy, because he's not part of your group,
right?
Why would he be, whatever? So it's a stupid trope that they need to get rid of in these slasher movies, because now everybody just knows, like, once they see the new, oh, yep, he's the guy. So anyway, all in all, it wasn't good. In my opinion, I don't like it, but it wasn't horrible. Not like the last one, because I think the movies just go downhill from, the first one. So that's my opinion. I'm not a fan of the next one, and I'm really like we're really gonna get into that one. But all in all, I
agree. I do think that they go down, but I think that I still think there is quality there. I mean, the third one was made direct to video, so it's going to have a cheaper budget. But even that director, he went off to direct The Losers.
Yeah. Oh, he's directed some great things. He was. We'll get into that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's so you got Danny Cannon, who's doing Judge Dredd, and then you got the guy who directed the third one go off to do a DC movie because it's a comic book movie.
Mm-hmm.
So but I don't know. I like the second one. I could always watch it. Like I've said on the first video, 4th of July, I could normally do a marathon. Yeah, and I probably won't this year because just watch them all back to back. I don't want to get bored of them, so I'll pick something else and save it for the following year.
Uncle Sam.
But that's another one. I love Larry Cohen, but I've never really been a fan of Uncle Sam. I thought it was okay.
It's stupid when he gets it's Jack Frost, pretty much.
Yeah, and Jack Frost is at least funny. The guy who plays Uncle Sam was just kind of an asshole from the beginning.
Yeah,
and I wasn't a huge fan, but I do love Larry Cohen. But I don't know. I think that normally I would think that we would be the opposite on this type of thing. That you would probably like. I still know, and I would dislike it. But instead, I like it, and you don't. So I think it's.
As you said, like most people actually weren't fans of the second one and stuff, and maybe they feel a lot of what. Maybe, I mean, honestly, 1998, because 96 was when Scream came out. 97 was when I Know What You Did Last Summer. I honestly think these kind of movies deserve like a breather, like it really annoyed me that in 1996, late 1996, or whatever, Scream came out, right? Then they're like, oh my God, this is such a hit. We got to rush the next one into production. And the problem is, like, why do you got to rush into production? If you, I feel like that's the problem, is like, we can't have that. We need some time to breathe,
I agree and disagree at the same time. I think for something like Scream, you need to take more time to write a better script because of how, like how there's those videos out there now that will say, oh, okay, well, this killer was dressed in the Ghostface mask who killed this person, but then the second killer dressed as Ghostface killed this person. And they kind of break it down of who killed who, and people have done all these kind of things with it. But if it's a Friday the 13th, I love that they came out every year. I mean, that to me was awesome. And they made each one a little different, and which was cool. Different directors, different takes, different writers, same producers and company for the most part.
And usually different actors, unless it was like, Corey Feldman was in 2, and then or whatever, and Kane Hodder reprises as Jason, whatever. Like there are people, but most of the time it's like a different person playing the same character too. Like Tommy Jarvis had 3 characters, 3 actors, who played him, and Tom Matthews is my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it depends. I mean, when Halloween 4 was a massive hit, they immediately released Halloween 5, but then Halloween 5 was competing against itself with Halloween 4 on video. So that's why they're saying one of the reasons why Halloween 5 didn't do very well is that and this is in the documentary about all the movies, is that they should have waited 2 years. So you have Halloween in the theater, you then have Halloween on video, everybody watches it on video, and then that preps them for Halloween 5. But because they were competing, Halloween 5 didn't do very good. Plus, it's kind of a shitty movie anyways. But
right. Yeah. So, yeah.
So I think it matters. I think it depends on what it is. I don't think with I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I still know that them waiting 2 years would have made a difference, because what else are they going to kind of do? It's going to be more or less the same movie. Okay, so they change it from an island to a high rise. It's still going to be the same thing.
Right. Yeah. That would have been cool. High rise. You're coming up with some cool ideas now.
Well, in part 3, and I'll mention this in our video on that they do mention something else in that idea.
Yeah. So there you go. So anyway, that's it, I guess, right? Like, I mean, the points of these things is not, and I like disagreeing, because I feel Siskel and Ebert-y, when we disagree. And I feel that it's sort
Let's
of
just hope we don't end like they did.
Yeah. Well, they also had, because they worked together all the time, and they started hating each other. If you watch that documentary, I don't know if you've seen it, Life Itself.
Yeah, I own it.
Yeah, great documentary.
I have never been a fan of either one of them. I watched their shows religiously and all that stuff because it dealt with movies and reviews, but I don't agree with them at all on most of their stuff. I don't think that they
especially
were good
the
for the
horror.
film industry.
They hated horror.
Yeah,
like, absolutely, and stuff. Which is funny because he, Ebert actually wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, which is, not horror, but it's like occult, weird.
He considers it to be a porn. He even admitted it on TV, on one of the shows once. So, well, that's a whole other episode. We could talk about them, but.
All right. So anyway, thank you guys for checking this out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed our random shit.
Oh, well, one last thing. I'm sorry. So you gave it on Letterboxd how many stars?
2.5.
2.5. Okay. Out of how many?
5.
Okay. I'm going to give it, if I had to review it on Letterboxd, I'm going to give it 3.5.
That's exactly what I thought you were giving. Because I figured you would probably give, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I figured you might give the first one 4 stars.
That is correct.
Which is what I gave
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I gave that movie 4 stars.
Yeah, it's not perfect by any means, so it doesn't get 5.
It doesn't get 5,
4.
but it gets 4 stars. It's a pretty decent movie. It's got some good shit in it, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's sort of a slasher classic, or whatever. The second one, I was like, okay, he would probably give it a 3.5, and I'll tell you later, after you tell me what you do for the next one, what I think will be yours, and I'll tell you what mine is.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So, but you're gonna tell me first what you, and then I'll say what I thought yours was gonna be.
Oh yeah, we'll do it at the end of the video, at the next video then. Yeah, just all like now.
Well, thank you guys for checking this out. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and join us next week for a brand new episode of Mainstream Monday. Bye, everybody.
Bye.